Not So Subliminal Recordings, NSSRs. Not So Subliminal Recordings consist of an element, one that is consistent and one that is chaotic. So usually a Demiphase or Demicerebral Neurophasing frequency formula, which is my brand of binaural beats, combined with usually an outdoor or busy environment and improvised speaking and sharing in a very documentarian form. It's improvised, it's freestyle. Not So Subliminal Recordings. NSSRs. Not So Subliminal Recordings. What are these Not So Subliminal Recordings? What kind of cult am I trying to build here, where I keep putting my own hashtags in these initials? NSSR. Not So Subliminal Recordings. So, for quite some time, a lot of things tend to build up inside of me, and then, just like a volcano, it explodes out furiously in ideas that then express themselves in a flurry of activity. Some things I burn out because I realize after doing it, it's not really what I want to do, but it's in the doing that I discover that. So before I trail off and rant as I do into any of that, the main thing that comes to mind and has been coming to my mind, that originally came to my mind when I first started this NSSR series, which I've done over a dozen of them now, probably about 24 now, as these improvised stream of consciousness talks and documentaries of me just going about my day, working, doing deliveries, and just talking myself through my frustrations and my low blood sugar fits and just stuff that I don't like and stuff that I do like, and just me being myself. Now, the first time that I decided to do this, I was sitting at this cafe on Oakland Park Boulevard in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, called Maggie's Favorite Coffee and Bakehouse. I think it's Bakehouse, or it's either Bake Shop, one of those two. And I went live on Instagram, and then after that I decided to, because so a little background, I had some forced downtime. I couldn't drive, work, do any deliveries or anything like that, because my car for quite a while needed to have the front axles replaced. So I dropped it off at Lipton Toyota, and then I took a walk, and 30 minutes later I ended up where Maggie's Favorite Coffee and Bakehouse was. Interestingly enough, I had been there 2 years before with Flora Elizabeth Carrasco, who always found some of the neatest places, and we sat there and sipped on some tea together and had some good food. Now, so I was sitting in Maggie's, and I made a video on Instagram, a live, and I started doing that because I was driving from Virginia down to Florida, and I just thought, well, I've been looking at all this Gary Vee stuff, and I need to really find my voice and find my vibe and just kind of really figure out what I'm doing. So, Gary Vee talks about creating as much content as you possibly can, even though I just finished watching Sunny Lenarduzzi, who makes online courses and talks about not doing that. And she has a really good system as well. But as you can see, my free association takes over my brain. But let me get back to this main point here. So the NSSR, the Not So Subliminal Recordings, which this one is part of it. And so I went on Instagram Live, and then I decided to record a video for YouTube because I have this forced downtime. I'm not driving, I'm not doing anything else. And so I got to this cafe. I thought I'd be walking probably for hours. I was thinking, I left the dealership around 11 a.m. and I figured, I could walk for a few hours and maybe get to the beach. And if it took too long, I would take a bus back or whatever. But I ended up at Maggie's, and I decided to make a video for YouTube after the Instagram Live. Now, as soon as I finished the video, I noticed that, of course, as I suspected, because it's not like it was subtle, that there was going to be some copyrighted music in my video, and YouTube puts restrictions on videos that have things like that because of the music that's playing in the background at the cafe. It's not really loud, but I feel like it was prominent enough that the AI would pick it up and then flag my video and either restrict it completely or give me some kind of penalty or whatever. I don't know exactly how it works, but I know some of my videos have copywritten stuff on it, and all it says is, there's nothing going to happen. We're just making a note of it that ads may run on it for the copyright owner. So there are different things that can happen. So in order to circumvent that, what I did was I took, I think, this very same binaural beat, this frequency formula that is playing in the background now, or maybe the foreground. I'm hoping it's matching or louder than my voice in some ways. But I played it and cranked it all the way up, and with that blending with the music in the background of my voice and all the other sounds going around, the video's up and YouTube hasn't flagged it. So mission accomplished. Now I'm going to take a look here really quickly and see I forget what the name of the video was. See, that's what happens. I'm in creator mode all the time. And it may not be the kind of creation that everybody thinks is cool, but it is for me. I mean, I remember a friend of mine, Donald, a while ago, I made a video out of one of the songs that we did together, and he's like, "What are you? You're like some autistic kid." Like, this video is so stupid. And then my younger sister, a couple months ago, I put up a video on my MC Narcissist channel, and she goes, "You're the biggest nerd, or you're such a big nerd," or something like that, right? So the video that I put up is what is it? It's not that one. It can't be that one. Oh yeah, there it goes. I called it Wealth Attraction Research. Let me see. Yeah, Wealth Attraction Research. Warm freestyle music video. And let me see if you can hear this.
Could be because I don't need or want a job.
Yeah, so I put that video on my YouTube, my Uniquilibrium YouTube, and I put the music in the background, and I'm looking at it, and yeah, it hasn't been flagged. There's no copyright anything on there, so good. All right, and so that actually I see, man, there's a lot of things connected to that. That's what happens when I just go into that creator mode. So I did that. I put the video up, and then as I was looking at it, the idea struck me, because although you can hear everything that I'm saying, right, and that's actually...
It was love at first sight, and I knew they had to be mine, so I took them with me down the aisle. I couldn't help myself. When it's all or all at special offer. Go for something sure to delight this Valentine's at Laundus. Get Cadbury Milk Tray 530 gram box, only €9. Enjoy Ben & Jerry's ice cream range, just €4.99 each. And buy Casillero del Diablo wine range, just €8.99 each. At Laundus, we know what locals want, because we're local, like you. Enjoy alcohol responsibly. Offers end 14th of February in participating stores while stocks last.
How can I help? It's a question I ask my patients every day. It's a question I ask myself. One thing I've learned is that I can help even more when I can easily connect with
physios,
pediatricians, specialists,
nurses,
who are all working with me in a healthcare network that takes a wider view of your health. That's VHI, where healthcare connects. So let me rephrase the question. How can we help?
VHI, because your health means everything.
A pretty nice, clear introduction to this topic, because I then went on and spoke for about an hour and 30 minutes on this platform called Noom Vibe, which there's another video that I just put up on there on that same YouTube channel, which is taking the audio from that Noom Vibe talk, combining it with, I don't even know, what did I combine it with? Some random videos. I strung something together and put it up there. Oh, I know what I did. Well, I'll get to that in a moment if it's important. It actually is like a nice, cool hack that I created using stuff that in a way that it's not intended to be, but making a cool visual. So the point is that from looking at that video that I made and putting the music in the background, actually it's the song called Floor Elizabeth Crosco, so it's not the binaural beat, but there actually is a binaural beat in the background of that video. I used for that, I used 432 and 440, which are two, you could say, competing frequencies for the calibration of the A note in music. Some people say that 440 is irritating and, causes a lot of problems in the world, and other people say that 432 is the opposite and that it's healing and all these other things. So I just blended them both together, and what you get is an 8 hertz oscillation between the two in the background of that video, which helps bring down our brainwaves, the synchronization, or the Demicerebral Neurophasing, I call it, down to 8 hertz in some of your brain waves. So that's what's in the background of that. So, but because it masked my voice a bit, it brought me back to a time when I was spending time with my neighbor across the hall, and we actually were considering at the time creating a podcast called Across the Hall. And his name is Amit Sharabi. He was in the United States from Israel. I like the term on loan. He was on loan from Israel, and he was studying photojournalism at a college in Los Angeles. And while I was going to school for clinical hypnosis at the Hypnosis Motivation Institute, and we used to sit for hours and sip tea and just have these really long, great philosophical talks about all kinds of subjects. And we didn't always agree on everything, but we were always civil and really cool with each other. And sometimes I could see, the frustration on his face about some of the things I would say, and but we were just always just good with each other, just always cool. And so the point, though, is that he played all kinds of really great music that I had never heard before. So he introduced me to a lot of music. And I remember one thing that comes to mind in particular is a group called Lemon Jelly. And I remember in the backdrop of one of their songs, you hear this guy saying, nervous tension. And, nervous tension. And I think it might have come from maybe a talk or a recording from Harold David Fink or something like that, which I know his name from the audio recording of Earl Nightingale from The Strangest Secret in 1956. And then I remember going to a used bookstore and acquiring a hardcover book called it's either Release or Relief from Nervous Tension by the psychiatrist or psychologist Harold David Fink, I think is his name. But either way, in the band Lemon Jelly, you hear this guy in the background, nervous tension, and you hear the voice, and then sometimes you'll hear him just talking through some different advice. But it's part of the background. It's not the main character of the song. The beat, the grooves are really, and that's just kind of like some filler in there. And it's not so subliminal. It's not quite subliminal. It's like a subliminal message in a way, but it's not. And so that's really as simple as it is where that came from, because I just saw a somewhat of an equivalence between the two things, that I used music to mask other music, but then it really brought my my voice level down, and I said people are going to have a difficult time hearing that. And I remember also I said, if anybody watches that, people might complain, we can hardly hear your voice. It's like, can you give me some voice with that music? Or, you know, stuff like that I've heard people complain about online about videos, that the music is too loud. And I thought, you know, I like noise. I like raw and juxtaposition, and also just non-conformist, very, even what some people might call odd, just completely different audio experiences. I'm really an audiophile. I love music and tones and notes and rhythm and beats and all this other stuff like that, but really the audio medium is something that I really enjoy. And I love ambient sound and ambient noise, so I'm really into the pink, the brown, and the white noise. And, you know, even in this recording here, I artificially generated these ocean waves. I think actually this particular binaural is called, I think this is the 528 one. Yeah, it's 528 hertz, 0.528 paired with 528 flat. So it's 528 hertz in one side, let's say the right, and then 528.528 in the left. And so the difference you're hearing, you're hearing a difference of 0.528 hertz. And it's a really, really super low, slow frequency. And so, but that's the thing. So I like the noise, right? And I also like environmental and industrial noise and the hums of engines and motors and things like that. And also just like very raw recordings that are improvised, and just the sounds that are around. For some reason, I love listening back to just, there's something different about listening to a busy street full of traffic on a recording than when you're in it live. There's really just something fascinating about that. There's something fascinating about listening to a recording of just walking into a store and walking around, and then the sounds and the things that you pick up, the details that you can hear and other things like that you're not necessarily picking up when you're walking around in it. And it's that combined with all the other elements that I spoke of, you know, the sound of, perhaps, I don't know if it is David Harrelfing's voice in the background saying nervous tension and lemon jelly. And I enjoy, you know, hemispheric synchronization from Robert Monroe's, you know, his Hemisync Institute, and how I was inspired by that to create Demiphase or Demicerebral Neurophasing, and the whole binaural beat popularity.
Your vision benefits just got even better. Now at Pearl Vision, provide your updated prescription from your new eye exam and get 40% off lenses. Their eye care experts are ready to help you find the perfect pair of glasses that suit your style. Don't wait. Your new look is just a visit away. And they accept all major vision plans. Find your nearest location at pearlvision.com. Some restrictions and exclusions may apply. See participating stores for details.
Which I also had learned from Lee Spusta, who creates his own relaxing meditation and hypnosis music. And I met him when I was a student at the Hypnosis Motivation Institute back in 2004 to 2006. And he was actually the first person to introduce me to binaural beats back in 2004. And so I had known about them for quite some time before I actually started creating my own. But that, in combination with so many different things, my love for ambient noise and sound, my enjoyment of binaural beats and different frequencies, and then that lemon jelly, I think those are really strong components. Those three things are the main influences of what I'm calling the not so subliminal recordings. And it's fun because it's kind of off. It's not so subliminal. What's that? Because sometimes my voice is so low that it might as well be subliminal. Like, for example, one of my recordings got flagged and deleted from Spreaker because their AI detected it and said it was music, but it was just really environmental noise on a binaural beat, and my voice in the background as I was walking 30 minutes from Maggie's favorite coffee and bakehouse to Lipton Toyota on Oakland Park Boulevard. And there's just something about it. Like, I listen to it and I mean, it's just, I really feel like it's going to be therapeutic for anyone who listens to it, and for me to continue making this style of recording, it's going to completely vary. And I've already been doing it because I've been experimenting for a long time with various different microphones, different devices, and different environments. And so if you listen to my podcast, the sound, if you could say the sound quality, right, or the quality of my voice, at least, it's wildly varying, because sometimes I'm recording with earbuds, sometimes with headphones, sometimes with a boom mic, sometimes an external mic, sometimes recording in through directly to the Noom Vibe app and then downloading the audio and uploading it to the podcast, and so it's more tinny. And then at one point in time I was at my sister's house and I had the whole professional studio set up there, so it was completely different then. And then I finally settled on just recording straight into my mobile devices, which for some reason have the best balance and utility that I found. I don't need any special equipment, and the microphones are excellent. And I've already known this from a long time ago, when a song that I recorded called Is a Bell Ringing back in 2013, I recorded it outside of the Bergamot galleries and studios, these art galleries in Santa Monica, California, and just one take with a Samsung phone, obviously back in 2013, over 12 years ago. And the sound is amazing. There's very minor clipping, and it's an incredible balance between my voice and the guitar, if I don't say so myself. So, I mean, those things, my love of sound. And so I'm gonna just cycle through just so I'm really being clear myself on this, about the inspiration for the not so subliminal recordings. First of all, it really struck me when I masked the background music from Maggie's favorite, cafe, in order to not get a copyright flag from YouTube, right? And so then listening back to it after I edited it, it brought me to the Lemon Jelly tracks where there's, some speaking in the background, which is coupled with my love of ambient sounds and environments, and then also my great affinity for binaural beats, and then all other things that are related, like white, brown, and pink noise. And also, coupled with that, I just know the effect of how these things can affect the subconscious mind as a master hypnotist, a clinical hypnotist, a hypnotherapist, and what I've learned from my training with that, and how I know it could be therapeutic. And also, something that also struck me, and I was looking on TikTok as well, and I saw a Korean TikToker who had something like 500,000 people, or maybe it was a quarter million. It was a lot of people. It was at least 300,000 people, or maybe 500,000 people on her live, and she was talking on the phone and cooking. And that just reinforced something that I learned years ago about a Korean YouTuber who was making $400,000 a month by just eating on video. And I saw the numbers, just like how I saw that TikTok. I went on there and saw this woman on there talking on her phone and cooking, and had let's just say it's 250,000 people. That's still a lot of people watching somebody talk on the phone while they cook. So I realized that the combination of me speaking, the environmental noise, and just the natural environments and documentarianism of it all, there's a lot of different, basically what I'm saying is there are a lot of different elements in it that are favorable, but also it's something that's very enjoyable to me. Like, I like listening to it. I like the freestyle nature of it. I enjoy the environmental noise. I enjoy the binaural beats, but I also enjoy some of the messages and the teaching, because I'm not out here just talking about nonsense. I'm a person who has taken a lot of time to educate myself and to be really serious about it and not fake it and not just think that I'm learning valuable skills, but to know it by listening to the opinions and thoughts of other people who are thoughtful, who are academics, who are making changes in life and in the world, and having conversations with people, and then sitting back and listening to myself, because I record myself a lot, and reading the things that I write. And I've been a practitioner for a long time, and I've been writing on my website since 2006. So I have a long history of reading, writing, listening, and creating and producing. And I know I mentioned a lot of me. I enjoy it. I like it. This part, on all these elements. But I also know that many other people enjoy these elements, because I've seen how they favorably respond to other creators who are using these various different elements either by themselves or in various different combinations of it. And so all that really is left to happen is for this to catch on to a wider audience, which it inevitably will, because of the fact that I've made it so streamlined for me to do so. And you know what's really interesting? The biggest part of all that is just doing it and not caring what anybody is going to say about it. Or I should be more accurate. I care what people say. It's just that what people say is not going to stop me from doing what I'm doing, because it hasn't. Sometimes I've stopped to ponder and think about it. Is this going to make me look stupid? Are people going to laugh? Are they going to think I'm ridiculous? And then I say, it doesn't matter. I'm damned if I do, damned if I don't. Blessed if I do, blessed if I don't. Something I learned by going to school for clinical hypnosis is that 25% of the people that receive me, any communication from me, that experience me in some way, are going to find me to be favorable. So that if I want to be negative, I can assume that the other 75% of people are going to hate me, which is not true. There's different gradients between, right? We could segment it and say 25% of people will love me, which is 25% of people will be hot for me. Then 25% of people will be warm for me. 25% of people will be cool for me, and 25% of people will be cold, right? Now that might not be exactly the segmentation of it, but I still have hot and warm, and cool is not so bad. It's just the cold, right? Or however you want to segment that out. And there'll be a gradient, there will be a spectrum, right? A lot of people are getting familiar with that word. We understand the spectrum. But there's going to be some scale at which that falls off. And it doesn't matter. No matter what you or I or anybody else does, there are going to be people who love us and people who hate us, no matter what we are doing. So we might as well do something that we enjoy doing. And then also, think about how it's going to affect and influence and benefit other people. And that's just been how I've been living my life, which is the reason why I've developed the skills that I have. I learned fitness and martial arts and hypnosis and all kinds of things that can be used to be a coach and help people develop themselves in some way, mentally, physically, spiritually. And I, interestingly enough, I have all three of those, body, mind, spirit. And let me explain quickly. I'm a martial artist and have been an instructor and a fitness trainer and a group fitness instructor. Body. Mind. I have a degree in clinical hypnosis and have been reading personal development, self-help, and spiritual books for years, and writing and making notes and writing my own poetry and songs and so on and so forth. And spirit. I've, along with all the meditating and the reading of the books on spirituality and going to various churches and learning about different religions, I've also gone to school and gotten advanced degrees in metaphysical sciences. So I'm not just here just playing around. I'm enjoying my life as much as I can, but I'm also doing my best to create things that are valuable to not only myself, but have a universal appeal to other people and can be helpful in a broad and general way, even while I focus on finding very specific people and demographics, if you will. Allow me to use that very specific term that's usually used in marketing, right? But I have skills that can be generally appealing and valuable, and then apply them and deploy them in very specific ways with very specific groups and types of people and individuals. So that is my origin story for the NSSRs, the Not So Subliminal Recordings. And it just sounds, it's funny, it's fun, it's a little bit ridiculous to say Not So Subliminal Recordings and have this whole NSSR things, but who's to stop me? Who's saying that I shouldn't and I can't do this, and why not? There's zero intention in me to do any harm to anyone with this. I'm just enjoying myself and creating something en masse. I'm scaling like heavily because it's so simple for me to do. And as I was saying before, a large part of that is just because I stopped responding in any way that's going to prohibit me, right? I stopped responding in any way that's going to prohibit me. That's the very specific. It's not that I'm not responding to any feedback that I get or lack of feedback. It's that I'm not going to respond in any way that's going to stop me from doing it. I'm making the decisions. I'm calling the shots. I'm going to decide when I slow down, stop, or switch gears, or shift, or pivot, or all of those other things that I can do, right? That's how it's going to work, and that's how it is. And that's my story of NSSRs, and perfectly timed because I looked up and this recording of this 528.528 hertz love frequency is coming to a close very soon. So one of the things is you can find out so much more about what I'm doing. I've created my own sort of LinkedIn. It's just a website that I have various links to my different websites and podcasts and social media. It's simple to remember. It's onepersonenterprise.com, onepersonenterprise.com, onepersonenterprise.com. But also, it's just as easy to look me up by my organization name, Uniquilibrium, UNIQUILIBRIUM, and there's even a uniquilibrium.com. All of my handles on social media are Uniquilibrium. My LLC is Uniquilibrium. And even Googling my name, Hakeem Ali Bokas Alexander. And I also have the website, HakeemAlexander.com. So I'm going to push this. I'm going to keep making Not So Subliminal Recordings, NSSRs. Because not only am I enjoying it and it's giving me a great deal of expression and awareness, but I know that it's going to be beneficial in various different ways to many different people. Even the story of me just talking about how I developed it. There's a lot going on there. And one last thing too I want to say is I did a little technology and media hack in order to create one of my latest videos that's on YouTube right now. And I won't get into it, but I will start another NSSR and talk about it on that. So that's coming up soon.